Awazia, 39 from 27. And Shahin Jahangir, 8 from 7. 54 for 1 the score. Clearly, we've had a lot of inclement weather around. And with that heavy rain, we sort of had inclement conditions for a while. Needless to say, in the conditions where we have much weather around with all of the electronic equipment that's required to produce a broadcast, but never mind that. So Pablo's Restaurant and Club over the last few days, we're now at the business end. One is the score after Bowler, who is about to take up the attack from the north end, is Nosh Kanjige, very experienced, quality left arm, slow left arm bowler. He will be bowling to Shahin Jahangir. Jahangir with the typical something going that we can be proud of.
Was to say good morning, Brian. How are you feeling? But I realize it's been 3 p.m. and I think the day started for a lot of us at 7 a.m. and we've been running around trying to get things done to get these eliminators out of the way. And we're lucky that we've come this far given how much it rained last evening. There was a serious downpour. We got almost 2.5, 3 inches rain within the first couple of hours, and then it was drizzling all night. So it's a testament to the efforts of this team, a testament to the captains, the umpires, and all the players who have made things happen for us to come back on this game. Um, Keep in mind this is a sudden death game. It's the first eliminator because the Knight Riders and Stallions finished in positions 3 and 4. So the loser of this game will be heading out of the tournament, and the winner would obviously be playing the winner of Power Stars and Houston Stars, which is going on KD East. The winner of that game is headed straight into the championship final. So obviously, Brian, we are at the business end of the tournament. Things are getting pretty interesting, and these are not the group stages anymore, where a slip up happens and you come back stronger in the tournament. There are no for these two teams. It's a sudden death game right now.
Certainly a sudden death game, and if the last or the first few days of the tournament was characterized by a lot of, let's say, jocularity and relatively um, down to earth sort of interaction between the players, you can feel the intensity increase in the last couple of days, specifically with regard to the preparations for this match. Much meticulation and obviously a lot of, with the conditions being what they are, there's been a tremendous effort on the part of each of the players, particularly the captains, to make sure that the conditions are such that we were able to get this game played and that we would then be satisfied with what happened on the field.
Yep, absolutely. And with the level of players we've got, all the stars that have descended on the KD Hockley fields for this tournament, it's also a grave concern for us to ensure that the safety of the players is not compromised in any way. And with the wet patches we encountered this morning as Nosh bowls to Ubesia, and that's cut backward of point, a diving stop by the fielder at short third man keeps it down to a single. So obviously the safety of these players was also paramount to us. So kudos to all the officials, the captains who came together, and Brian, you as well from the board of advisors. All of us were able to get together on the pitch, do thorough inspections after inspections after inspections, and we almost got into Shine tries to step down an inside edge onto his pad. The scamper through for a single. So we almost got into an analysis to paralysis mode, but before the paralysis could strike, we were able to uh, have rationale prevail and have a toss and get onto the field. And we've been lucky to have everyone happy and everyone motivated, given that the stakes are so high. So these teams are competing it pretty hard, and it's been a good start. I think it's been very absorbing first hour of cricket from both the teams. And as this one is Sweeper cover moves in, it's straight into his lap, and that's a big wicket for the
That is
Light
a
Riders.
gigantic
Nosh does the
wicket.
trick, gets away Zia. Brian, your thoughts on that dismissal?
Well, Via is not somebody who likes to be tied down. He likes to go for his shots. And Nush, with that slow left arm action, bowling from around the wicket, outside off stump, and sort of inviting him to play that shot. But how many times in the last few days have we spoken about the fact that the most important or the most effective ball to a left handed batsman sometimes is the ball that goes across him? And so I think Zia was looking to play that a lot straighter, but with the angle, it took the outside edge. He's a very powerful striker, so the ball still went 50 yards in the air, but comfortably taken by, and very well judged also by the fielder in the deep. So very, very big wicket in the context of the overall game. So we're now 57 for 2. I want to go back to something that we were just talking about, though, Manir, because part of the pressure of getting this game underway is that we were being squeezed from both directions. What I mean by that is there sort of is a deadline toward the afternoon, probably around 3 or 4 o'clock, where we're expecting for showers to come back.
Yep.
So the urgency is there to get the game going. But clearly, the conditions this morning did not warrant us being able to play initially. So we were working as quickly as we could to make sure that the run-ups were acceptable, making sure that if there were any wet spots in the outfield, that we were able to cover them up. And the urgency from that direction was that, hey, we don't want to have conditions where anybody could potentially get hurt. But again, the conditions is from the other end is if it rains, then if it's anything as heavy as it was yesterday, then we'd likely not have any more play for the rest of the day. So all in all, I think a fantastic job done by everyone around to make sure that this game is underway.
Absolutely, Brian, as the new batsman comes in to the non-strikers end. And as it's been said, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yes.
The cricket has been so absorbing and we've loved it so much. There was always the rush of getting things started and getting back to cricket. And that's what we all wanted. But at the same time, I think we had to take a step back and ensure that in the rush of the moment, we don't do anything which is against uh, the goodwill of the tournament. We don't want any injuries. I think that was the first concern.
Mhm.
And there were some wet and slippery areas. So also a huge thanks to all volunteers who spent so much time this morning and all the staff who came in and did the fixing of the run-ups, the mulch, and the sands that we all scampered to find this morning. Given it's the 4th of July weekend, so logistics were much harder. But I think we're glad that all of us could collectively come together, put our heads into it, find a common ground, and make things work. So it's exceptional, and I think that is what cricket teaches us, right? It's a game that unites all of us. There's a lot of diversity in cricket being a global game, but we all come together on those 22 yards, and we find a common ground to come together, enjoy, and have a blast, and that's all we are doing today.
Very well said. Um, One thing I want to highlight is the fact that we were all groundsmen this morning. It didn't matter if you were a captain or somebody visiting from the East Coast or a commentator. I think everybody sort of rolled their sleeves up and made sure that we could do whatever little each of us could do to make sure that the game got underway. So
Yep.
kudos to everybody. Absolutely brilliant efforts. And more than anything else, it's very cliche to say cricket is the winner, but it really is the case that if we're able to get this game going, which is always the objective, I think everybody else is the better for it.
And I think this morning was we'll come back to this ball from Inam, who's by the way the surprise front runner for the wicket takers tally. No one would have expected with the likes of Nosh and Jermaine and so many other good bowlers in this tournament that Inam Khan would come up with a fifer and follow it with a four-wicket haul in the second game as he bowls to the new batsman who knocks it down to mid-on. Uh, So yeah, to the previous point, I think what happened this morning, the scenes around the Paul Rushing Park were also synonymous with what USA cricket represents. Whether you are an administrator, whether you are a manager, whether you are a board of advisor, whether you're just vacationing here in Texas, we all took the volunteer role, and that's almost a testament to all the parents and as Cheyenne tried to go down the ground with the wind, but only manages to get Big Nick manages to clear Jaskaran, who was at short third man, and they scamper for a single. So yeah, it's a testament to all the parents, the coaches, all the good people who fight their own fights to make cricket happen in this country. And this morning was really just a curtain raiser to all of it. No matter what the stakes are, no matter what level at which you're playing, we all eventually have to do our bits to make cricket happen. And Brian, who knows all of that better than the 20 years, gets down on one knee and picks up the gap between deep square and minutes. We wear all kinds of hats, whatever the situation demands.
You're absolutely right, and you would not do it of getting such a high level tournament completed. And so for me, it's almost embarrassing when I hear the compliments that you give me because 66 for 2 is the score after 9 overs. The batters are Cheyenne Jahangir, who is on 11 from 8, and Cameron Sheikh, who's the batsman who came in at the fall of the last wicket. He is on 8 from 3, 66 for 2 from 9. Under the conditions in which we're playing, our opinion is that we have a good enough, a little bit of an issue here. Not sure what the issue is. There might be an issue with the ball. Umpire Sadiq walking over. I think he's looking to have the ball replaced. We'll get confirmation on that shortly. But with wet conditions, the outfield pretty thick, and a little bit of an issue with regard to how quickly the ball can roll across the grass, you would expect that there would be a slightly below par score here on the outing. We're looking, if par for this ground under normal circumstances was probably 170, we're probably looking at something a little bit below that. And anything can happen. Somebody can go crazy and start hitting like William Perkins around. Par score you would think would be somewhere in the 140 145 range. What would you think?
It it depends a lot on the approach of these two batsmen because in terms of the power score, yeah, I think 150 might be a kind of score which would really put pressure on the opposition to come out and chase. But at the same time, I also expect the outfield to not be as slow with the sun beating down. It's pretty hot in here right now. But what was very interesting to me, Brian, in the last over was intent from Ovezia was to go after Nosh. And it was smart captaincy from Majid Rizvi because he had himself at long off and the sweeper cover was very square. So he showed that big gap from between these two fielders. And Ovezia, who has played that inside out shot very well, got deceived actually. He sliced it straight to that sweeper cover fielder. Now, with the onus on Cheyenne and Kamran, you would expect them to take some time, a couple of overs to get themselves in. But in the very next over against the part-timer Inam, both of them tried to get big hits. First, it was Cheyenne trying to charge down the wicket. It was a miss hit. He got away with a single. But Kamran, who had just faced one ball by that time, gets down on one knee in classic West Indian fashion and licks it over cow corner. So I think the instructions in the dugout are that since they're moving at 7 and over, they need to get a move on. And maybe they may decide to go after Nosh or may not decide to see him off given the out his quota for not too many runs. I again, when Inam comes back in the next over, I expect these two to get after him.
Format of the game because the slower Nosh tosses the third man, but I'm a bowler in these conditions. You want the batsman to want to have to come out and see your chances as that bowler.
That is a great observation, Brian, and that I think constantly spinning the ball into the left-hander. But him pushing it wide and slowing it down and having those two men out there was an invitation for him to at least come after him. And the fact that he slowed it, think from what I know of the Knight Riders camp, having legends like Bilal, Saeed, and Fayaz Sarwar, they would have had those discussions in the morning about their strategy. Given they were bowling first, they would exactly know what their game plan is, and this kind of those calculations would start coming into the picture. So yeah, interesting hour and a half to 2 hours of cricket still awaits us. Let's see how this plays out.
Completely agree with you. So the ball driven by Shine Jangir into the covers. Diving attempt by Majid Rizvi there in at cover, not able to save that ball. It goes through for a single. 71 for two is the score after 10 overs and one ball. Inam, who has been a wicket taker in this tournament, I think, as you mentioned, he certainly has been among the wickets. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's either the leading or the second highest wicket taker in the tournament so far.
Yep. And I'm like the point we were discussing in the last over. In fact, during the over break, I would be interested to see the approach of these two because there was definite intent against Anam. Let's see if they're willing to let a part timer get away with his overs at this time. I understand he's got the wicket, but we'll owe it to Anam being one with a golden arm on that day. He still, I don't think you can still look at him as a frontline bowler to which you're defending your wickets. And there was intent again. I thought from Cheyenne, tried to step down, get to the pitch. He knocked it to covers. Now let's see if Kamran wants to go after him. It could be a mixed bag, Brian, that they would still look to knock Inam around for singles and twos, but still look to get a boundary or two every over from him. I don't think they can let him go for just 5, 6 runs and over. And there you go, just what we discussed. Kamran Sheikh steps it down and clears long on very easily. So just what we were discussing, that the first three balls they were happy to knock it away for singles, and I saw Kamran step even before the ball was released. So I think in their head they are calculating when they have to go, when they can just knock him around. But if they can keep it to about 10, 11 and over, again I would repeat to the part timer, that's pretty good going through the middle overs.
Calculating not only when to go, but who to go after.
Who
And
to
I
go
think your
after.
point is exactly uh, accurate. If you would have made a calculation beforehand, who are you going to target? Nash is a very wily veteran. He would have been in situations like this hundreds of times throughout his career. So you would think that Inam would fit the profile of the bowler who you'd want to go after. Good comeback delivery this time, a little shorter, a little bit quicker through the air, and defended into the offside for no run. 79 for 2 the score with one ball remaining in the 11th over. Cameron Sheikh 18 from 12 and Shahin Jahangir 14 from 13. Ball is whipped to mid wicket. They'll settle for that single as the fielder comes in off the boundary. And so that ends the 11th over. 80 for 2 the score. And with overall cloudy conditions, a threat of rain in the forecast, but a very interesting passage of play going on here, Munir.
Yep, I see the dark cloud starting to move in. We've got 11 overs out of the way. Even that last ball from Inam, I thought he dropped it short. He didn't intend to. But Kamran, given he got that six couple of balls ago, he was very, very happy to wait on the back foot and just tug it to mid wicket for a single. Interesting tactics. So definitely they're taking calculated risk. And I think when it comes to the other bowlers, Majid in his interview last evening mentioned that he thinks he's got the best bowling attack in the tournament. And we would have to partially agree because with the new ball, he's got the likes of Ali Shafiq. Jansar Khan has been used as a new ball bowler at times, and they've got Jawad Khalid and, of course, Nosh. So those four, I think, form the frontline bowlers. But the surprise package has come from the unexpected heroes in the form of Farooq Tariq, who has taken, I think, a 4 wicket haul in one of the
Sure.
games. And then
Double hat trick,
Inam,
if I'm not
double
mistaken.
hat trick, yeah. And then there was Inam. Oops. And
Wow.
so here comes Farooq again. And again, like we discussed, that Farooq and Inam are the two part timers who have done very well for Majid. And in fact, this is not Farooq. I'm not able to make out who this bowler is. It seems it is Inosh. I understand he's a youngster who has come into the Houston Cricket League scene very recently for Cavaliers Cricket Club. And he was drafted by Majid. And I've heard praises for this youngster from Majid repeatedly. Inosh supposedly is a very good batsman and off spin bowler. So he's also being used by Majid. And first ball, we saw definite intent, a big hoik where he missed it. The second one, he finds the gap between long on and mid wicket. So let's get ready for some fireworks. I think Stallions have made up their mind that again. So Brian, what's your take on this intent? Kamran has walked in trying to push the ante for the Stallions, most definitely.
But how about this youngster? He is not afraid to get that ball all the way up there, varying his pace very nicely, and this ball is driven down the ground for a single. So in 4 deliveries, he's conceded 5 runs. He knows that the batters are going to want to go after him. He's certainly not a frontline bowler, and somebody at his age would not have played a whole lot of cricket, certainly not in conditions like this or situations like this. But he's showing no fear. He's getting that ball right up there, and he's certainly doing what you'd want a bowler to do under these circumstances where he knows the batsmen are going to want to go after him. He's varying his speed, he's tossing some up, he's getting the ball right in the block hole, which is what he did in this situation. So 6 runs rather from 5 balls so far. Honestly, you would think, given who they're targeting, that both Cheyenne and Cameron would have wanted more than 6 runs from this over. Let's see if that's what they end up with. This ball is an outside edge, runs away, sort of a moral victory there for Inash. You can see 2 runs off that last ball, but that very easily could have been an edge that went through to the hand or the gloves of William Perkins. So 2 runs from the last delivery, 8 runs from the over. Oh, check that. I was off. There's one more ball remaining. But I'm really impressed with this one over that I've seen so far, which ultimately I think is a pressure over.
That's the platform the HPL throws, right? A youngster from Houston Cricket League up against 2 first-class players.
And look at this, right in the block hole. Attempted flick by Cameron Sheikh. Misses out, and at the end of the over, the score is 89 for 2. A really top class over there. Extremely, extremely impressive by Enosh.
8 overs to go, Brian. How much would you give the Stallions from these 8 overs?
I think they'd be disappointed if they're not going at least 10 and over. And if that's the case, I would think that they'd be disappointed if they didn't get to 160.
So you're giving them 71 runs in 8 overs, roughly at 9 and over?
Somewhere in that range. But going back to their attack for just a minute for the Stallions, bearing in mind that one of their primary weapons, Jermaine Levine, was injured on Friday, and obviously as much as accomplished as left arm orthodox spinner as Nosh is, maybe Nosh has played at a slightly higher level for a longer time, but Jermaine is no less talented a cricketer. And so the fact that they did not have him, it really calls upon the others who are playing a part-time role to step up and deliver. And we talked about Inam Khan, as how much as he's been able to do with the ball thus far. Any contributions that you get from somebody like Inosh is that much more of an advantage to you as a bowling side.
And heading into the HPL, I think we as organizers, the board, we all realize, and so do the captains and the team owners, that a format like this where you're playing back-to-back games over 4 days, 5 days, it's a squad game.
Yes.
You can't go with your 4 outside players, your 3 core protected players, and just 3 additional picks and expect to go all the way.
Yep.
Every player in that squad at some point during the tournament has to come in and play a role.
Mm-hmm.
And given they lost a senior statements in the form of Jermaine very early in the tournament, that's where somebody like Inam stepped up. Inam wouldn't have come into the tournament thinking that he's going to have a frontline bowler role.
No.
So does Farooq and Inosh for that instance. They all, I think, and that is really what T20 cricket and these franchise tournaments are about. You're given the opportunity, it could come anytime, anywhere. Just be ready. Come on to the big stage and perform. The cameras are rolling.
Thankfully
International
today.
commentators with the sexiest voice in live production in USA are going to dissect your performances, and the stage is yours. See what you can do. As Farooq bowls to Kamran, knocks it down to long off for a single.
Another thing that we need to emphasize is that everybody knows this is the shortest common format of the game. Short of reducing it for weather conditions and so on. 20 overs, there is so much that can turn one way or the other in a very short period of time. And so you don't have a very long time to be able to put your impact on this game. Quick, cheeky single taken on that occasion. Boy, the ball is just defended into the covers. You would not think that that would have been worthy of a single, but in any event, they do get that single. Jaskaran Malhotra is a fielder who retrieved that ball. He's not happy, probably with not much backup being offered behind the stumps at the other end. Bowled him absolutely full and straight. Across the line goes Cameron Sheikh, and he think was looking to play that ball towards mid wicket, completely across the line, and the furniture is disturbed. So the third wicket falls. The score is now 93 for 3. And more importantly than anything that is happening on the field, we are honored to have here in the commentators booth somebody who, for those of us who have been in Houston and watching cricket for a while, would need absolutely no introduction. Mr. Yogesh Patel, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yogesh, you clearly have seen cricket in Houston in all its forms, from when it started in Sugarland all those years ago to the point now where we're hosting national tournaments. That happened a few weeks ago in Prairie View. This tournament here taking place in Katy, very prominent tournament. The Houston Premier League over the years has grown to be one of the more preeminent ones in the country. What are your thoughts from somebody who's seen cricket so much in this area and how much it's developed for the last several years?
I think last several years you have seen that in last 4 or 5 years you can see that Houston is kind of like become a cricket hub of USA, if you can call. And that was thanks to the great tournament like this HPL, which started about 7, 8 years, 10 years, almost 10 years ago. It started on it, and after that there are more and more tournaments coming up. And the last month you have seen the big under 19 big tournament, national tournament happening. And I think in couple of weeks is happening another one. The women's Western Regional is happening again here in Houston. So you can see that where Houston has come in cricket-wise, so it's an excellent job.
Fantastic. And you would have been here throughout, rain or shine, operation on your knee or not. Regardless of who's playing, you've always been there to support cricket on the field of play. You've always been there to assist. We'll get back to that in a second. The new batsman is Umar Majid. Sorry, check that. Umar Sajid. Sajid, left-handed batsman. Batsman at the other end is Shayan Jahangir. And again, the bowler who has successfully broken the previous partnership is Farouk Tariq. So, Yogesh, Houston is Houston, and so we get the weather here that we do. And days where it's not 95 degrees with 100% humidity, we have the situation where we have a little bit of weather around. But talk to me, appeal. It is given him. Very full, very straight. Umpire Donald thought about it for just a second and then immediately raises his finger. So a very full delivery. Omer is not happy and he's walking off very, very slowly. Unfortunately, he is going to have to go because umpire has already made his decision. So 2 quick wickets here, and all of a sudden, the Stallions have been pegged back, Yogesh.
Yeah, they are now 2 good quick wickets and losing Kamran Sheikh, and so it's like 2 excellent balls is bowling. One is a clean ball, next one is a right on the block all on the LBW. So I think the Night Riders are striking back again.
Well, if at this stage of the innings you would have been looking, if you were the Night Riders, or check that, if you were the Stallions, you would have been looking in over number 13 to accelerate.
Yes.
Going towards the end of the innings, we were talking earlier that they might have been looking for a score somewhere around 160. Those 2 quick wickets, there's nothing that slows down the run rate more than losing wickets.
I think that's what happened in the other game also. Like they were doing good, and all of a sudden they lost 2, 3 wickets, and then the things kind of like slowed down. And once they looked like they scored 180 or something, but they ended up scoring 140. So That's the 2020 cricket. You get one good over and 2 wickets. Things change right away.
Absolutely, things change in a heartbeat. Now, if you felt it in the last few minutes, Yogesh, the winds have picked up a little bit now, more from the northeast. I hope that does not mean that the inclement weather is close by, because I would hate for this game and this tournament to be adversely impacted by the weather. But either way, we are now, the bowling will be coming from the north. It will be Inam Khan to continue. I believe this is his third over. Two overs bowled, no wicket for 19 are his figures, and he'll be bowling to Shayan Jahangir. Left arm around the wicket. This ball is slapped towards mid wicket. Fielder coming in and off the boundary. Underhand throw by Anash. Just one run to the total. So 93 now for 4. And you guess you would have seen somebody like Majid, the captain, only a few short years ago. He was Anash.
Yes.
And the development of cricket, not only has cricket overall been the development of cricket in the Houston area been important, but the development of individual players, all the way from youth stages all the way up to now where they are the levels. Talk a little bit about how important it is to involve youth in cricket coming up.
I think Houston has done a tremendous job, especially not only Houston, but Houston, Austin, Dallas. The Texas teams has done tremendously well to encouraging the youth crickets. And in last couple of years, you will see that in such a major tournament, almost every team has a under 19, under 21 kids are playing in a regular 11. Not even in 15, but they are playing in the regular 11. And that shows that how far the youth has come in Texas cricket. So
completely agree with you. Now, in the meantime, we just saw a tremendous blow there by the new batsman, Hamad Azam. Maybe a little bit shorter, that delivery from Inam Khan, than he would have preferred. And then Hamad Azam, even though he's really just only come to the crease, recognized the short ball, rocked back, and a huge 6-over backward square leg. So, with the Stallions facing up against what I think he would agree is a part-timer. He's had a lot of wickets taken in this tournament so far, but certainly not to be considered as a frontline bowler. His delivery is a lot fuller, and it's driven down the ground to long off for a single. Okay, so we have been informed, unfortunately, that with the inclement weather approaching, you certainly don't want to have the situation where you have the equipment that, quite honestly, is very pricey and very precious. You don't want that equipment to be spoiled in any way by the weather. And so, unfortunately, we're going to have to close the broadcast sometime shortly. Maybe we'll go until the end of this over, Yogesh.
yes, okay.
And then, in fact, that does seem to be the end of the over. So at the end of the over, the score is 102 for 4. Yogesh, it's been a pleasure sharing the booth with you, and we will follow on shortly. Thank you.
Yeah.